calendar webinar. Thank you guys for joining us, especially those of you who've come in early tonight. I can see you, so welcome Sarah D. Welcome Mr. Pancall. And I see an attendee just left, but we will see who else shows up this early, 10 minutes beforehand. And today our hors d'oeuvres of the day is a juice, actually a smoothie, a berry smoothie, and carrots from our garden. So if any of you are growing, sorry if that's blurry. There we go.
Sorry.
So my name is Nikki.
I don't see the list of...
And my husband Dave is on the other line for now. Say hi, Dave.
Hi.
Hello, Mindy Caruth. I hope you got your permakit all ready. And hello, Joan P. Welcome. I'm just calling out your names as you come in to welcome you and tell you who we are. So my name is Nicky Schauder, and David Schauder, my husband, is on the other line. I'm a permaculturalist. Last year, I took my permaculture design course with Wayne Wiseman at George Mason University. He was taught directly by the founder of permaculture, Bill Mollison. And we are actually having dinner with our mentor, Wayne Wiseman, tomorrow night. So it's a really close bond once you become a permaculture designer. And I am here because we run Permaculture Gardens, a website dedicated to helping you grow your own food. And we are just passionate about having as many people as possible grow their own food. Like, we want to see 1 million people growing their own food. And tonight we have the planting calendar in front of us. I usually start with, I'm sorry that I'm blurring in and out. I'm going to try to stay still so that doesn't happen. But I will start with some housekeeping rules. So those of you who are on the call, welcome. And you will see, for those of you who are first timers, a chat box on the right-hand side. Use that chat box. I've enabled the chat to say hi. So I'm going to just type hello to you all to let you see that it works. And any of your questions, comments, concerns that you have, suggestions, don't be afraid. I'm not seeing attendees yet. Don't be afraid of typing them, because Dave will be in charge of answering those questions as I present, so that we can get a lot of the questions throughout the evening. So Dave, did you have any problems with seeing the attendees? Can you chat? Is everything good on your end?
I'm not. Did you promote me?
Yes, I did. So I think you might have to be an organizer, maybe. So you do not see the chat box, Dave?
No.
Okay, so let me just, this is what this beginning part is all about. Let's see. Try to see how I can fix that.
Maybe I should go
So
ahead.
while I do that, I am going to play a video just to get us all inspired. So let me see, chat. I am not seeing our attendees. I see that you're in the group chat, Dave. But let me turn that off. Okay. So while we try to fix that on the back end so that Dave can answer all your questions, I'm going to start by sharing a little video with you guys that hopefully inspire any of you who are starting to grow your gardens this spring to do so. This is from Milkwood Permaculture. I really admire this family that's in Australia, and this is their promotional video. I am not affiliated with them in any way, except that I'm a big fan of theirs, and they have a cute little video that I'm just going to share right now.
We're Milkwood. We teach skills for growing, designing, and living like it matters. Skills like how to create a natural building to keep your family safe and warm, and how to design an energy-efficient homestead surrounded by fruit trees, animals, bees, and bright futures. Skills for growing your own organic food, and how to turn it into meals your family will love. We believe skills like these are what makes community. The ability to pitch in, help out, and make it happen. To do it ourselves. to create the futures our families need and deserve. Come join us. We'll get you growing.
Bread and butter, eat it in the morning. Bread and butter, eat it in the evening. Bread and butter, I'm not leaving. Sing it all day long.
All right. Well, let's just return that to me there. I hope you enjoyed that. It always gives me, it was a little bit cutting, yeah, choppy, but I really get, and so is my camera right now, I really get chills down my spine when I actually watch that, because that's the kind of life that I want to live. So feel free, once again, for those of you who are here, welcome Sunny Peterson, Amy Strauss, I always, right? Okay, welcome everyone who's here. My name once again is Nicky Schauder. I'm going to be your host today, and my husband David is in the background going to answer your questions. So feel free to use the chat box that's on your upper right corner. If you click on the buttons, if you toggle the buttons on the right side, you'll see there's one option for chat to ask any questions that you need to throughout the presentation. In about 4 minutes, we're going to start. But this is just anybody who's on the call, tell me, what are you growing this year? So give me a few, and where are you growing it from? So let's test the chat box out for those of you who, especially for those of you who are new here, welcome. And so, don't be shy to use the chat box, because we're one big community, one big growing family, and that can help. Oh, there, Brian Moyers, fellow Permie. Yeah, welcome. So Brian, where are you growing from? Where is your, now tell us, you feel free to tell us the name of your company. I know that you are your logo or your slogan is one planet, good planets are hard to find. So I remember your slogan, but Back to Basics is your company, right? Chicagoland. Okay, welcome. What are you growing this year? Now, other people, feel free to chime in. We're trying to make this as interactive as possible. Okay, as you guys get warmed up, I'm gonna tell you the other things that are gonna happen tonight. For those of you who are new, we usually have a Name That Tune song throughout the webinar. So I sing a song that'll hopefully help you remember the steps or the principles or whatever it is we're trying to, sorry, I'm blurring in and out again. We're trying to teach you tonight, and you can guess the name of that song. And the first one to guess it gets a packet of seeds. And we are also, hi Paula, everything. Did you get, yay, Washington State. Wow, yes. Now varieties of peppers, potatoes, corn, kales, Kalettes. Kalettes? Are those like mini kales? Lettuce, onions, garlics, beans, and herbs. I'm in Washington State. Ohio. Vegetables still deciding. Welcome, Beulah. So this permakit here is what the raffle at the end, if you stay till the bitter end, you will get, a Permaculture Gardens permakit, which comes with this adorable root pouch, which is biodegradable, made from plastic fibers and plastic bottles that would have gone into the landfill, but instead are made into this bag, and you'll get seeds, non-GMO seeds from Baker's Creek for either the herb kit or the veggie kit. So let's see, 1 minute to go. I better get my slides ready. So you guys, if you're good, if you have any questions, type it on the chat box. Dave will take care of you, and we will cut in the middle. We will break in the middle to check those questions in the middle of the program for sure, but periodically throughout the webinar. So I hope you have fun. All right. Share. So welcome to the planting calendar, the webinar where this is where we tell you, we show you, we guide you about when to grow your own food. This is part 3 in a webinar series that we hope to offer all year round, every second Wednesday each month. Take a quick look and see among these titles if there might be any topic that interests you in the future. Next month, we will be doing a money and gardening topic. So if you've ever wasted money on plants like we have, plants that failed to grow or kits that didn't bear fruit or materials, you're in for a treat because we have a guest speaker next month and she's actually among us this evening. But more on that later. In our first webinar that we delivered in January, we started by having you consider your growing space in 10 dimensions, not just one. So whether you knew it or not, the whole 10 steps that we sung throughout that webinar is also known as the Scales of Permanence, first published by P.A. Yeomans. So if you remember, the song is, now I can't remember my song. First thing is to observe, to think holistically. 3, note your zones of use. 4, know your local climate. 5, find your microclimate. 6, note topography. How much water runs off your roof. So if you want to catch that webinar, it's actually on recurring mode right now, and will be as well. We will make that available on the workshops on the webinar page of our PermaKits site, www.permakits.com. Just click on the webinar tab there. So the second webinar that we had in February was about how we could make the best selections of plants in order to maximize our yields. Plants do not live naturally in isolation. They work best in an ecosystem, as we found. And so we undertook the task of building mini ecosystems called plant guilds and started to see how the most efficient systems like forests can be incorporated in our backyard as food forests. So for those of you who joined us then, we hope you have brought your plant list from that workshop tonight, because we are going to use these plants in and plug them into our planting calendar. But first, let's begin with our why. So why are we here? The first reason I always talk about is how our first 2 children, Zoe and Ethan, were diagnosed with severe food allergies. So you can see the elder 2, boy and girl, that's Zoe and Ethan. So they still suffer from allergies to nuts to this day. And this led us to question what we were eating in the first place. On one of our trips to the Midwest to visit a good friend of ours named Cindy, we started noticing the monotony of corn and soybean fields that stretched for miles on end. And when we finally got to her town in Salina, Ohio, Cindy told us not to visit her because the tourist feature of the town, the lake, apparently was poisoned. And the poison was from the runoff of the surrounding farms, and that people and animals. She was a doctor. She is a doctor, and she might be on this call she's probably on this call right now. She was in the clinics, and people were coming in and sick from having either just like been near the lake, the poison lake. I remember she told me like a dog that plunged into the lake died the next day. But everything was hush-hush in that community because everybody didn't want to pin the blame on the farmers that were the majority of the people around there. And so after that trip and many other things along our journey, like Food Inc., the movie Food Inc., we started gardening. And since we found that the actual experience of growing our own food nourished not only our bodies, but our souls as well. Recently, I was listening to a podcast on the theology of food. And a philosopher named Taylor Marshall said that everything that dies that has life gives us life through our food. And I thought that was the more alive that plant was, organically, not processed, the more life it gives us. And I think there's something sacred and profound and a deeper understanding of how special growing your own food is. And that's what we wish to impart to you tonight. So tell me briefly, why are you here? Please type in the chat box, and I'm going to try to switch and see right now if anybody's Northwestern Wisconsin. My daughter in Green Bay, so she's got stuff coming up already. Whoa. Yep. Okay, so yeah, tell us in the chat box why you are here so that we can, we can connect a little bit. Now, I always start with what is permaculture because we are permaculture gardens. And this is a little infographic from Jeff Lawton, among many, that just has a really good, excuse me, is a good showcase of all the things that permaculture can be. It's not just limited to one's garden, although that's what we specialize in. But in the 70s, when it was first envisioned by Bill Mollison and David Holmgren, they thought of permanent agriculture, definitely something sustainable. But then it expanded to mean even the natural building around and the community even, and even the economy, that you can, if you can envision it, even an economy that isn't running on money. So that's how big permaculture is. And yet it's based on very, very simple, constant principles of the earth. Like the constants, what are the constants in the earth? The constants, what, as we will find out, are the temperatures plants grow in, the sun coming up at a certain angle at a certain time of the year, and patterns in nature. So what is permaculture for me? It is integrated design based on observation. And so we will start with, okay, so let me check again why you guys are here, because I really wanted to know. I want to grow a better garden. Amy Strauss, okay. Well, you will indeed grow a better garden. Okay, so next, and this is where I start seeing, so if anyone can guess it, let's see. Okay, first thing, everything has its season, everything has its day. Temperatures for germination begin to show us the way. There are two major categories of food. So one is the cool season crops, and you can see them here. That's what's growing, coming up right now, I bet, all around America, is carrots and cabbage and kale and brassicas and Swiss chard. And then we have the warm season crops. So in your workbook, oh, of course, I forgot to tell you guys to pull out your workbooks, right? So pull out your planting calendar workbooks. And if you haven't already, list the plants that you are growing and try to see as we go along where they fall. Are they cold weather crops or are they warm weather crops? So I'm assuming that you guys already have a list because we did that planting calendar, the plant design guild session where we selected your plants. And even if you didn't attend that webinar, if you are, have a list already in mind and start plotting it on your workbook. And if you don't have your workbook in front of you, take a piece of paper, but I hope you printed it out. So this is from the Colorado Master Gardeners Extension Program. And they plot out that germination for cool season crops generally occurs in these temperatures. So as you can see, beets, broccoli, cabbage, in more or less, they're on the 40-degree curve, right? And then warm season crops, they come out at around 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Even if you plot this on a scale, you can see that all the cold season crops will fall under 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Broccoli, cabbage, carrots, kohlrabi, lettuce, mash, onions, peas, radish, turnips, beets, cauliflower, fava beans even. And then you come to the warm season crops, and you can see that in general, we have the median at 60 degrees for warm season crops like beans, celery, corn, cucumbers, summer squash, cantaloupe, eggplant, lima beans, pepper, and pumpkin. So here again, if you have your workbook, this is what you will see. Cold season can be subdivided into two subcategories, and those are the hardy cold season crops and the semi-hardy crops. And once again, the only differentiating factor between hardy and semi-hardy crops are their temperature germinations. So now if you have your workbook, move the plants you plan to use from the hardy selection into the hardy portion of your empty tables. So that would look like this. This is your empty seasonal planner table. if your selection of plants is among the hardies, then put it in the light blue selection. And if it's among the semi-hardies, then put it in the light green. So just match the colors of the plants that you wish to use. That's why I ask you to take the time now. If you have a pair of scissors and if you're using your printed workbook, please you can cut up the strips of paper. And if you're not using it, then write down, if you're not using your workbook in front of you, then write down the names of the plants that fall into the hardy and semi-hardy categories. Right now, we're just working on the winter spring season and the cold season crops. So I would put my peas and radish and kale in my hardy section. And then I do the same for the semi-hardies as well. So this is the hardy selection: broccoli, lettuce, turnips, semi-hardy, the greens, and then I put it in the semi-hardies. Now I'm gonna check on you because I hope I haven't lost you in all of this work. So I'm really asking you to work tonight, whereas most of the time I don't, right? I just deliver. Okay, I hope I've given you enough time to do that. So now we're done with the cold season. Is everyone done? Type on the, if I'm going too fast, please tell me as soon as you can in the chat box. Otherwise, I will just proceed to the warm season crops. So warm season crops can also be subdivided into two categories: the tender warm season crops and the very tender. So the tender, beans, celery, corn, those germinate at around 50, I think. And then very tender at around 60 and higher. So I usually take the minimum temperature for germination as my standard first. So find the summer seasonal page on your workbook and enter in there, move the plants you plan to use from the tender selection into the tender portion of your empty tables, just like this. So I've selected beans and corn for my tender crops. And move the plants you plan to use from the very tender to the very tender portion. I know most of you guys are probably going to do tomatoes. And I'm just, for the sake of simplicity in tonight's webinar, I'm just going to use squash. And this is a picture of our squash, a Tromboncino rampicante that we grew last summer. And it's a very cute heirloom variety that's super, super yummy. And it's so productive, so fertile. Makes a lot of these round things. They're pretty too. So I hope you're still with me. I'm going to keep checking the chat box to see if you guys are okay. If I'm going too fast, please let me know because I don't visually see you. I guess that's the hard part of this. Okay, thank you. Nice. All right. Back to the workbook. Now take out your fall winter season planner. So what's that? That's the third blank page that says semi-hardy and hardy. And we will all figure this out in the end, but please be patient with this initial sorting process. So it's like we're doing an algorithm for sorting your plants into their specific ranges. But it's going to work wherever you are in the United States because you'll see later. So take your fall winter page that's blank and then your semi-hardy crops first, and then we're going to plug the semi-hardies into the red space of the fall winter. And why is that? Because we always think, oh, I want to have fall crops, right? But we don't actually plant them in the fall. We plant them in the summer. And this is like a visual reminder. The red is a visual reminder telling us I've got to plant these green semi-hardies in the summer so that I can harvest them in the fall. So I've plugged mine. I'm not pasting these yet. These are just sorted into their categories. So Potatoes, they germinate at 45, cauliflower and strawberry. Those are the 3 semi-hardies that I'm using. And then the hardy crops that I'm using are peas, turnip, and kale. And I'm going to plug them into my hardy section. So you do the same for your own selections. So I'm going to sing that song again, just in case anybody might know from the first line. Everything has its season, everything has its day. Temperatures for germination begin to show us the way. So what is your germination temperature? So now within the seasons, now we've already sorted them into their sub-seasons, right? We've already sorted them into their winter, spring. We're only talking about 3 seasons here. Winter, spring, summer, and fall into winter. Now, when you arrange your plants within their seasons, think, when I put them in the winter, spring, I will put the lowest germination, the plant with the lowest germination temp first. Same thing with the summer. I will place the plant with the lowest germination temperature first before I place the ones with the higher germination temperatures. And then in the fall, I will place the ones with the highest temperatures first, because that's when the weather turns cold, and then place the ones with the lowest germination temperatures last. So how does that look like? So winter, spring, I know my peas germinate at 40 and my turnips and kale at 45, I believe. And that's why, 40, 40, and 45. So that's why I have placed them from lowest to highest temp. And in the summer, the same thing, the beans first and then the corn. And I just have one thing for the squash. Okay, and in the fall, it's from the highest temperature to the lowest. So I'm going to stop a little bit and check on you guys to make sure that link should be in the first sentence of the email. Huh? Okay. Oh, in case, is there a link for the workbook? Yes. Okay. And if you, here, I will pause for a little bit because I know this is a lot of work, and we will have a little break, a fun break, so that to help us plunge on. Okay. I hope you get your workbook, Beulah. Yes. For those who signed up a little later, like the ones who signed up today, the workbook, actually, I gave it out yesterday, and you might have missed it because you were not on that email stream. So I apologize, but I hope you have it in the link of the 1 hour before the webinar. What is the maximum temperature for? Very good question. All right, here I am. So this is what the maximum temperature is for. So peas have a window for telling you what that window of time is in your calendar. So peas can germinate between 40 and 80. So keeping that in mind, knowing that from your charts, you would see that the window that you can plant peas in is mid-March to early June. And after that, it'll be too high for the peas to germinate, and the temperatures won't be optimal for them. So this, if you're wondering where to get this calendar, which is the monthly average record temperatures, it's really easy. Weather.com, type in your zip code. Oops, previous. Exit. Oh no, now I can't find my mouse. Okay, so weather.com, type in your zip code, and you will find your monthly average. If you press on full forecast, upper right-hand corner monthly average. It's in the workbook as well. So next, days. So this is the next part. I'm going to give you guys a few more minutes because my mouse is acting up on me. Let me see. There it is. All right. So I hope, for example, if temperatures are over 90, thank you, Dave. Okay. So I hope that's enough time for you to just get the first part of the sorting done. Now here's the second part. Everything has its season, everything has its day. Temperatures for germination begin to show us the way. Plot your days to harvest, find out exactly when. You'll find your crop decides to stop growing only then. And so what does this mean? So days to harvest, also known as days to maturity, are the number of days after your plant has been transplanted outside or is a seedling outside after germination, after it's already sprouted, before you can harvest it. So all these number of days. So for instance, in this case, lettuce, you have 60 days to harvest. So once that seed sprouts, it does not include the seed time, the time for the seed to sprout. It's only that period of time from when that lettuce seed sprouts to when you can harvest the leaves of the lettuce. So lettuce are 60 days to harvest, mash 50, and some, like onions in the cold weather crops, are 110. And that is the very reason why onions or some bulbs are planted in the fall, so that you can harvest them in the winter. So place the plants with several days to harvest earlier in the season. So first, start with your germination temperature, right? And second, if they are the same temperature, for instance, peas and turnips, same temperature, 40-40, then you will have to look at their days to harvest and then figure out which one should I place in earlier, because they will take a longer time to grow. So weather.com will give you this calendar. Oh no, okay. Weather.com will give you the calendar that I just showed you. Okay. So cold weather crops. You can see from our cold weather selection. So my examples, this is just for me. You guys have different temperatures. So my example was peas, 40 different days to harvest. Peas, 65 days to harvest. Turnips, 50 days to harvest. And then kale. So the longest, the plant with the greatest days to harvest is peas for the hardies. And then for the semi-hardies, I chose cauliflower and potatoes. So how does that look like? So peas, kale, and turnips, they were 65 first. So that's where I put the peas first. 50 and 55 and 50. So I arranged them according to the days to harvest, and they take about 2 months. And cauliflower, strawberry, and potatoes, I first arranged them according to their temperature, and then next to their harvest days. Now I have to be wary of potatoes, because some potatoes do germinate after a long period of time, like 125 days. So why are we doing this? Stay with me. This is hard work, I know. And because of that, I have a nice little break for you to enjoy while you are sorting out your calendars and to inspire us. This is Jeff Lawton from Permaculture Research Institute.
This garden's 8 years old, and it's set up in a functional pattern. It's on contour. They also harvest water to this contour growing bed, which is set up to be exactly the right width that I can reach to the middle. And for the other footpath on the opposite side, I can reach to the middle. It means that I don't walk or compact the soil, because it's very important that I can get across the garden and actually not damage the soil by compressing it, which squeezes the air out, which makes it potentially more acid because of that, and actually damages the millions and billions and gazillions of little organisms that in that soil that we spent 8 years building. This relationship, this soil ecosystem has been built in this soil. I'm adding a little bit of compost around some of these plants. Just a little bit of added fertilizer for the soil organisms. And we can add a little handful of compost here and there around the base of these plants, and they'll pick right up. They'll grow really well. You only need a little bit every now and again. I'll encourage the organisms to come in and interact with these plants so they can go to work feeding these plants and interacting with the minerals in the soil and the elements in the soil that they can give to these plants in exchange for the starch that these little plants are making right now.
Oops. Oh. All right. That was...
And they'll pick right up. They'll grow really well. You only need a little bit.
That was
every
not
now
in
and
sync.
again.
So
And
let me
with
just do
the
that.
minerals in the soil and the elements in the soil that they can give to these plants in exchange for the starch that these little plants are making right now from the sunlight shining on the leaves and through photosynthesis. They have a surplus of starch which they can exude to the soil and exchange for minerals through a partnership of interaction with soil life. We've chosen a kind of matrix of complication. So visually, it doesn't look like one species. We've got perennials down the edge. It's a society garlic, so it's giving off a smell that actually makes it confusing to pests. We've got red leaves, green leaves, a little bit of purple leaf, feathery leaves, frilly leaves, combinations of shapes, combinations of colors, combination of form, a little bit of chaos in cooperative confusion, so that any pest that comes into this garden is confused by the smell, the color, the forms, and the patterning. And yet the whole garden is patterned to be double reach to the middle, on contour. And the other thing we've done is we've favored the predators. So we have little ponds that favor frogs. We have garden perches and bird perches and bird baths that favor the predatory birds that come in. And we've got little rockeries that favor the lizards. All of these are predators of garden pests. So we're favoring the predators and confusing the pests. There's one of our birds. They're wild birds. They're interacting with our cooperative action. They like what we're doing. And any pest that comes in here is quickly confused. And a confused pest where you have favored predator habitat is just eaten very quickly. And then later on, through the digestion of the birds, or digestion of the lizards, or digestion of the frogs, comes down as predator poop, fertilizer to the garden. Another inoculum of interesting soil life additive.
So that's why we're doing it. Okay, are you still, guys? Are you with me still? See if anybody can type in the chat box and tell me. The first page should say planting calendar. Does it not say that? Okay. All right. Okay. The link for the Plant Design Guild. No, yeah. So the link for the Plant Design Guild, I hope you've seen it now. Thank you, Dave, for answering those questions. All right, back to our calendar. So this is February in Omaha, Nebraska. I've taken these calendars from weather.com, and you can do the same for yourself. So if you go to weather.com, type in your zip code. You don't have to do this now, but do this after the program. You can use the Omaha charts that are on your planting calendar workbook as your guide or the screen. And this will give you the general trend, although not exactly, precisely of your particular area. So February in Omaha looks like this. The temperatures are still wibbly wobbly over 40. Where would I put my peas? So I put them, peas, turnips, and kale, around the time that I know it's over 40. So I start them on the 24th. And once I put my peas there, I can go count the days to harvest. So for peas, I have my own planting calendar printed out here. For peas, it's 65 days to harvest. So I will count 65 days to harvest, write peas again in May, and write the letter H, and you will see that in the calendars next. So I can even, if I wanted to stagger planting and really maximize my garden, if I have more room, I can plant peas, turnips, and kale again the next week. And then you have a continuous harvest. You have a lot, the next week you're picking again. So this is what March looks like. I still have my peas, turnips, and kale on the top. And now I'm going to plug in the other crops that have higher germination temperatures first. So the cauliflower and the strawberry first, because they germinate at 40, and then the potatoes as soon as I can, because it has a long planting season, long growing season rather. Then I put in my corn and my beans. Why do I put my corn first? Because corn takes a longer amount of time to grow. Corn takes 70 days and beans take 60 days. So I just did that. If I didn't want to plant them all in both in one day. So, and then I look for the time when my summer squash is ready to plant, and that's right there. And then I count, and at that point in April, I can already harvest, depending on where. April, May, I thought it was May, 65 degrees. So 65 days. So then I find my harvesting, or I can probably keep on planting peas. And then I have harvest dates, like I said, for the months to come. So you first plot your plants, when you're going to plant them, and then you count from there the days to harvest, and then you'll know when to harvest them. Although honestly, you just have to, for any gardener who's excited about their plants, don't you do this? Like, you don't need your days to harvest. You just look outside your window and you're like, come on, potatoes, come on, strawberry, when are you ready to harvest? So this is just me being a little bit more exact. But warm weather crops now. Summer squash, like we said, has 70 days to harvest. And so we will harvest the summer squash in June. Now, this is fall winter. Remember how we said earlier that for the fall winter, fall crops, semi-hardies, we need to plant them in the summer. So that's where the maximum temperature for germination is important. Because then you think, so I removed the strawberries from there because strawberries are actually perennial, so I wouldn't need to plant them again. But then you think for the fall crops, how soon in the summer can I plant them? What is their maximum germination rate? When can they stand it? So I look at my cold weather crops semi-hardy selection, and I check for cauliflower, it's 90, and for potatoes, it's 90. And then I can see, okay, there's no danger of 90 in June. And June is their hottest month. So in Omaha, Nebraska, I can plant my potatoes right there in June and harvest early. And I do the same for the kale, turnips, and peas later on in the fall. So I look at the temperatures and see what is their max temperature. Look, turnips are like 100, so I can really plant turnips early if I wanted to. Just be careful. Yeah. So we'll talk about that later. So maximum temperature 100 for turnips, so you can safely plant turnips in the summer. So now we're into July. I'm harvesting potatoes in July. I'm harvesting corn in July. And I'm going to start planting my hardy crops for the winter or the fall in July as well. And in August, I can put my cauliflower there. And September, I'm harvesting turnips. Am I harvesting turnips and peas? Yes. But no, I put my turnips and peas in September. So I harvest turnips and peas in November. Previous slide. Okay, can't see my mouse, but so I harvest my turnips and peas in November if I've planted them in September. So in November, they are indeed my fall crops. And in December, I have nothing. But there are ways to extend the growing season. At this point, you could still be harvesting winter hardy lettuce. And I didn't use all my actual crops that I plant in December. So I just used some for demonstration. So this brings us to the end of the year. So let's remember again, Everything has its season, everything has its day. Temperatures for germination begin to show us the way. Plot your days to harvest, find out exactly when. You'll find your crop decides to stop growing only then. Do flowers bloom on short days or long days? Oh, does anybody know what this song is yet? And if you haven't guessed it, the hint is it's a Broadway song. It's a Broadway song from the 70s, okay? So let's see if anyone finds it out today. So photoperiod, the third criteria for finding out when to plant your plants is photoperiod. Every plant has like a ticking time bomb in it. Well, for flowering. So short day plants are actually, let me get my notes. Okay, so just judging, look at that for now. There is a flowering hormone called florigen that is produced in the leaves and acts like a light-sensitive molecular alarm clock that says, time to flower or time to go to seed. So this florigen is activated as soon as the sun goes down in long day plants. So that's the one on the right. Okay, long day plants, as soon as the sun goes down, this florigen is activated and it says it's time to flower now that the nights are shorter and the days are longer. Similarly, in the short day plants, this florigen is activated when the nights are longer. And that tells us that the short day plants, now that the nights are longer and the days are shorter, it is time for you to flower. So which is which? So Dave did this blog, which I hope if you guys were on our mailing list, you received and research on what were long day plants and what were short day plants. And here are the results. So beets, carrots, cilantro, dill, fennel, these plants flower when the days are longer. What does that mean? That in the summertime, that's when they go to seed. That's when they bolt, shorten, quote unquote. And then short day plants, they flower when the days are shorter. So that they go to seed when fall comes. And then there are day neutral plants that don't care whether it's short day or long day. They care more about the temperature and the temperature. So in general, how I remember whether it's a long day plant or not is this. Anything that is Mediterranean or temperate climate is a long day plant. Anything that's tropical or subtropical and happens to be most of the stuff that's in the summer are short day plants or day neutral plants actually. And plants that are adapted outside of the region are day neutral. So if you take a look at the photoperiod column or the flowers when column in your workbook, you will find whether that plant is long day, short day, or day neutral. And if you don't have anything written on it, that means it's day neutral. It doesn't care. So I want certain plants to flower, like peas and beans and strawberries and fruiting plants, but I don't want certain other plants to flower, such as leafy greens, carrots, beets, and turnips. Because then if they flower, that means that's the end of their growing. They're bolting. And then like carrots, when they flower, they turn hard and they're not delicious anymore. And leafy greens, then they turn bitter, right, when they go to seed. So in particular, I really watch for long day plants more than anything because that's the one that confuses me. Turnips are long day. So I have to keep in mind that because turnips are long day and I don't want them to flower, I have to plant them as early as I can in the cold season. So you don't have to worry too much about this because there are not too many plants that photoperiod affects. Turnips, plant early in the season. Potatoes are long day. Plant them as early as possible in the cold season as well, because yes, same thing. Well, for many reasons now. Potatoes, plant them early in the season because usually they take a long time to harvest. Now take a look at what are long day and day neutral. So in general, you can see the trend. Cauliflowers, most of the cold weather crops are long day, except for the beans. But the beans, you don't care if they're long day because you want the beans to flower. So for most warm weather crops, we don't have to worry about bolting because they are short day or day neutral. So now, once again, we go back to our summer. Okay, so there, those are the 3 criteria. Germination temperature, everything has its season, everything has its day. Temperatures for germination begin to show us the way. Plot your days to harvest, find out exactly when you'll find your crop decides to stop growing only then. Do flowers bloom on short days or long days? Oh, crop rotations come into play. So we're almost to the end, so bear with me. Let me check to see if anybody answered. Okay, nobody knows this. Bonus if you can name the song. Everything has a season. That's the beginning of the song, but it's not the title. But it's from a musical. Crop rotations. Okay, crop rotations come into play. So traditionally, before the advent of the so-called Green Revolution, we had a three-tiered crop rotation. So first beans, then your grains, and then you leave the plains fallow, or you let it rest. So John Jevons, in the grow biointensive fame, if you look up his book, we are big fans of him. He proposed this, that you have actually heavy feeders first, heavy givers next, light feeders last. You're on your way. So what are heavy givers? So heavy givers are indeed those bees and peas that were part of that first three-part crop rotation. So you get legumes, bees and peas. Why? Because these naturally fix nitrogen. If you remember from the previous webinars, if you guys were here, legumes interact with have a symbiotic relationship with bacteria in their root nodules that exchange nitrogen for starch. The bacteria need the starch to grow, but they give off nitrogen in exchange. That's a little bit of what Jeff Lawton talked about in the video. And then now that your soil is more fertile with all that nitrogen, then you can plant your heavy feeders, and those are most summer veggies. And then after your summer veggies are done, you do the light feeders. So heavy givers first, heavy feeders next, light feeders last. You're on your way. And finally, to make this growing year your best, don't forget to intercrop to confuse the pests. So intercropping, you can see I had a lot of fun with this song. Intercropping is simply the same thing that Jeff Lawton was showing in his kitchen garden, is you don't have a monoculture of the same corn all throughout, right? You're interspersing it with herbs and flowers to confuse any bugs. And incidentally, not only do they confuse the pests, they also exude certain minerals, or they grow well with, you have to find the plant guilds that will grow well with your crop, right? So in planting guild, in the 7 layers webinar that we had, we talked about how we want to do this and why we want to do this. So an example of a guild is the Three Sisters Guild, which you are intercropping with 3 different things, but it's all in one space. And just like that kitchen garden of Jeff Lawton was, you could see how, it's still visually pleasing because you have that same you have repetition of the same crops, but you have several of them. You're not just one thing all in one space. And then you have, I don't have sequential cropping, which by the way, we've been doing all along. So if you have already sorted your crops into spring, summer, and fall, you are doing sequential cropping, which also maximizes your yield. So this is a quote from Thomas Jefferson saying how much he thought of crop rotation. That was the most important of all the questions a farmer has to decide, was what was the best rotation of crops in 1793. He said this, so he would have loved this webinar. Finally, this is the bonus section. Let me see if anybody's on here still with me. Okay. Okay. Oh, who got the Pippin? Oh my gosh, congratulations, Mary Beth. Okay, you can tell us. Mary Beth Asher, congratulations. Yay. Yes, it is Pippin, Corner of the Sky. No, you're fine. At least you tried, no? The others didn't. So yes, you definitely deserve those seeds. What do you think, Dave? Okay, I have a bonus. I'm going good, only slightly overwhelmed. Thank you. Okay, good. Yes, your feedback is important to me. Do not be overwhelmed because we have more pointers for you. Okay, this is the last bonus. This is the last part, okay? This is not in your workbook. Phases of the moon. So you might want to write this down. Seeds, if you guys are keen on planting with the phases of the moon, just as the sun has an effect on the plant, the moon has an effect on the plant as well. And some people think this is wacky or weird, but if you think about how the moon affects the tides, it does affect the water in the plants as well during their germination phase. And that's why planting seeds during specific, phases of the moon might be to your benefit. So just keep this in mind. Seeds outside are new moon. You plant them during the new moon. Seeds inside, if their seeds are inside, you can plant them in the second quarter. Is that right? And then the third quarter are root crops. And then for a full moon, you just rest, or that's when you transplant or prune. On a more practical level, this is how I think of it, okay? Okay, so maybe I'm not as good as following these phases of the moon, but I give this out to you guys if you want to try it. But this is what I think of. I work with nature. If it rains, that's when I transplant, or that's when I plant, because then I'm working with nature. I don't have to water, and the ground is just really ready for my seeds to germinate. So that's how you kind of look at working with nature as well, if this doesn't appeal to you. But if it does, here it is. And I'm just going to put it on the screen there for a little bit longer. Now, if you want to find out when your new moon, third quarter, full moon is, all you have to do is put it in timeanddate.com/moon/phases, and you will figure it out. So it's the same for Washington, for Omaha, for Hawaii. We get the same kind of moon. That tells you something. So how do we put all of this info together? It is 8:47. I'm about to end. Don't be afraid. Start somewhere. Start small. Use your workbooks. Connect with us via email, social media, or, okay, if you're still confused, I would like to invite just 4 people. Okay, I only have time enough for 4 people to do a 30-minute Skype call with me in the month of April. And you'll receive a pre-consultation questionnaire, but you have to give me your plant list, and you have to tell me where you are located. And we can do like a Skype call, and I can see your garden if you're overwhelmed with all this information. But I hope you're not, because I don't want to leave you like with all this info and then you don't do anything with it. You're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm never going to do this. I'd rather that, okay, I'll help you, but only 4 people can do this. And I will actually put a tab out here to show you. If you wanted to schedule a session with me, there is an offer right now on the right-hand tab, right hand where your chat box was, and you can schedule a session with me in April. And I'll only take 4 because I'm busy too, planting my own garden as well, but I really want to help out. But I actually have given you all the information that you need to be able to do a planting calendar. And this webinar will be on replay, and we are going to stay for questions. So now, let me see. We will end, and we will do the permakit raffle. Right, Dave? Are you with me? Am I at the end of the show?
Just wait a minute. Let me set it up.
Okay. All right. So Dave is gonna pull out with using random.org is gonna pull out the permakit raffle winner. But more on this, like, yeah, this is what you would get. But the first thing to do if you're interested in this is to schedule when you'd like to speak to me in April. So after our Skype call and after you do the work of your workbook, this is what we hope you will create. And everything that you saw in that first, those of you who are early, who saw that first Milkwood permaculture video, and if you want to see that online where it's not so jaggedy, go to milkwood.net, and they're an Australian permaculture business. They just teach permaculture to people around there. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just like that. I just like following them on Instagram. I'm just a fan.
So I have the winner.
Okay, so Dave, I'm gonna switch off and show you Dave's face now.
Okay, it's Valerie Gordon.
Oh, Valerie, congratulations!
Congratulations. You've won a free permakit. So we'll get with you afterwards and determine whether you would like a herb permakit or a vegetable permakit.
Yes, so to show you once again what you won, Valerie, I don't know if you can see, it's a cute little box like this, and inside you have instructions for growing your herb or veggie permakit. You have a nice little bag here that holds everything, a saucer, your fruit pouch. Well, you'll have a bigger one than this. And then you'll have the fungi and the bacteria and the 3 seeds, non-GMO from Baker's Creek to grow with. So congratulations, Valerie. We're so excited for you. And we hope you can send us the pictures. Okay, questions. Let's take a look at the questions here. Thanks for the bonus. We are the new moon. I know. I don't think we can do anything outside the next moon here in Wisconsin. Well, you can try. We don't follow the moon quite yet, but we'll try this time to just hit those new moon, quarter moon, and third quarter moon marks as well. Okay, so let's see. Oh, you're welcome. We're excited for you, Valerie. Okay, so let me see the questions here. Anything else? Autumn olive do nitrogen fix. Okay. Yes, there are. Yes, I had a whole, okay, regarding nitrogen fixation in plants. I had a whole Instagram and Facebook discussion with Raymond Covino of the USDA, actually, which is so funny, just how people connect on social media, right? On whether I had or did not have nitrogen fixing bacteria on my basil. So I did not in the end. So there's some plants that bacteria in general, nitrogen fixing bacteria in general, favor legumes. So anything in the Fabaceae family, they do favor. So that's for rhizobium bacteria. That's the one that we offer in our website. But there are other kinds of bacteria. Frankia is another one, and they are still nitrogen fixers, but they don't necessarily want just legumes. They go and will fix on other plants as well. Like Dave said, autumn olive, and that's Frankia. And I'm not quite sure. See, the research on this is very small. You look up like cancer or diseases and you have a ton of research. But when you look at plant science, there really has to be more research in plant science because to give you this webinar tonight, we combed through so many journals and so many researches. The ones that are prevalent are in the 70s. So there has to be more research done, I believe, on this topic.
So
okay.
Can I add?
Yes.
So the theme of a lot of the things that we covered tonight is that plants have evolved to specific niches in the environment. So they're looking for specific environmental conditions, and they're very sophisticated in the kind of things that they're looking for. There's temperature, there's the amount of rainfall, the sun. There's literally dozens of characteristics that they're looking for, that ideal temperature when they're going to start their optimal growth. So if we can figure that out, even though we don't know, as Nicky mentioned, in this respect, there's been not very much research on all the. We're just starting to learn about all the plant chemistry, the biochemistry at the cellular level. But what we do know, if you plant your seeds during the optimal time for that plant, their growth rate will be much faster than if you plant it when it's not really looking to grow. So I'll just add that bit.
Okay.
What do you, Nikki?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right, Dave. I was sorry, I was looking at the chat, so I wasn't listening to you. But there's somebody who had raised hands here, and I don't know how to get to you. Let me see, chat. Did I miss the part about your lake? Yes, Cindy, Dr. Cindy De La Rosa is here on the call as well. The person who we visited, whose lake was poisoned, is here. Yes, that was in the beginning, Cindy. That was there. Okay, so to end, I wanted to let you know about next webinar is on Garden on a Budget. We're so excited because Amy Strauss is here on. We're so honored to have you among our attendees, Amy. We admire her, and we are very thrilled that she will be giving us a little bit of her permaculture wisdom on actually budgeting on your garden. So Amy has a new book coming out, and she'll tell you more about that on the next webinar. But it's really for suburban folks like us, or urban folks like us, who want to garden for our families, for our immediate family needs. So stay tuned with us, and we'll send you an email for when to sign up for that webinar. It's April 13th. All right, so what else? We will cover soil preparation in a different webinar. Yes, so soil preparation, that means, is there more to learn about soil preparation? How to make good compost? Yes, we have covered that in the second webinars slightly, but every webinar we give a little bit tidbit of a big, huge topic webinar, like composting 101, and that's soil preparation. And that will be in subsequent webinars just dedicated to composting. So if you're wondering where to get that soils, okay, so Jeff Lawton's Kitchen Garden Sequence is part of a whole soils DVD series, one DVD that you can get from PRI Australia. I am not affiliated with them either, although I love them, and I'm hopefully going to be writing a blog for them soon too. But they are the premier source of permaculture information. And his soils DVD, I got it for $10 on Permaculture Research Institute. It has so much more on soils if you are interested. Mary Beth, to know more about that. He goes into composting, how to make a straw bale garden, how to make, that was the kitchen garden sequence, and just identifying different kinds of soils from different places and saying this is this color, what does that mean, and so on and so forth. So, all right, so if that's it, we will leave you guys this evening. Is that all the questions there is? You have them here. Okay, we will leave you guys this evening with the Milkwood permaculture video again, in case you guys didn't see it, and we'll bid you good night right after. Oops. Ah.
We're Milkwood. We teach skills for growing, designing, and living like
Screen.
skills like how to create a natural building to keep your family safe and warm, and how to design an energy efficient homestead surrounded by fruit trees, animals, bees, and bright futures. Skills for growing your own organic food and how to turn it into meals your family will love. We believe skills like these are what makes community. The ability to pitch in, help out, and make it happen. To do it ourselves. To create the futures our families need and deserve. Come join us. We'll get you growing.
Bread and butter, eat it in the morning. Bread and butter, eat it in the evening. Bread and butter, I'm not leaving. Sing it all day long.
All right. Well, good night, everyone. We'll see you in the next webinar.